Gaudete, rejoice. The word gaudete is a command, it's imperative, rejoice. But here we are in the midst of 2020. What is there to rejoice about? How can we rejoice? How can we find joy in 2020? I think we need to take a leaf out of the Book of Wisdom from one of my favorite Christmas characters, the Grinch. We remember that scene in The Grinch, right? He took all the stuff. He took all the presents, all the trees, all the decorations. He took the roast beast. He took it all up to Crumpet. And he was waiting. He was waiting. He wanted to hear the boo-hoos. He wanted to hear the sorrow. But what did he hear instead? Fa-ho-do-re, welcome Christmas, Christmas, cheer. He heard the song, and he said, whoa, wait a second. It came all the same. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And then he had this revelation. Wait, maybe Christmas doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas means something much more. And his heart grew, and everything changed, right? But I think that insight right there, that the same insight with Christmas is the insight of joy. That joy doesn't come from a store. Joy doesn't come from the lack of a pandemic. Joy comes from within. Joy is this deep spiritual experience, this elation that comes when we are realizing who we were created to be. We are created in the image of God, the image of love. And so joy actually follows every single act of true love. Every time we act in love, we find joy. And therefore, joy is always possible. For example, receiving gifts. When we receive a gift, the gift itself does not give us joy. The gift might make us happy. The gift might be everything we ever wanted. But the joy doesn't come from that gift. The joy comes from gratitude. The joy comes from the gratitude in recognizing, wow, somebody thought of me. Somebody else thought of me, loves me, and gave this to me. And my gratitude for this person brings joy. Joy. When we receive an award, when we receive a payment, when we receive some kind of accolade, that's great. It can fill us with pride. And we can be very proud of that moment, right? That can make us happy. But that is not the joy. The joy comes in the sacrifice that led to that reward. The joy comes in saying, I did this for this person, for this group of people. I said no to myself and yes to these other people, and I am joyful because I was being who I was created to be, giving myself in love. There's an experience every Christmas. My mom used to say this every single year, and I just didn't believe her. She said, if I didn't receive a single gift for Christmas, my joy would be complete. And I was like, whoa, Mom, these toys are awesome. How could you? No, there's no way that you could have joy without all these toys. Like, this is amazing. But now I get it. Because the toys and the gifts and the presents that we receive, once again, they make us happy. But actually, the joy of Christmas, the joy of gift giving is in the giving of the gift. That I thought of this person. I love this person, and I want to show my love for this person by giving them this gift. And seeing, like, when we know, wow, that's exactly what they wanted, we were able to love them. And it's in loving them and in showing them and in giving them of ourselves that we find joy. There's a final experience of joy that I want us to remember and to think about. And that is the joy of anticipation. Isn't it interesting that oftentimes when we're looking forward to an event, when we're looking forward to a celebration, when we're preparing for something, that we have more joy and more excitement in our hearts than sometimes even the event itself? What is that? Why is there sometimes more joy in waiting than there is in celebrating the event? And sometimes, actually, when we get to the event, it can be a little bit of a letdown. Like, wow, this is great, but man, my heart wants more. Man, this is great, but this isn't everything I thought it was going to be. What's that about? That's because your heart was made in a very special way. Your heart was made to anticipate a very specific celebration, a very specific event, and that is the kingdom of heaven. That you are made, right? Joy is about being who we're made to be. We are made in the image of love for love. We are made by God for God. And so we are anticipating all the time the kingdom of heaven, that heavenly reward. And so our heart doesn't know any better. Whenever we're looking forward to something, our heart's saying, yeah, heaven's coming, heaven's coming. And so we get there and we're like, okay, this is great. This is not heaven. That's what this is all about. That's what Gaudete is all about. That's what rejoicing is all about, is because our heart's greatest desire, our heart's greatest anticipation, the desire for God, the desire for heaven, is possible in Jesus Christ. And that even as we yearn and as we wait for him to come again, we know it's guaranteed if we are faithful. And even now, brothers and sisters, even now, here in this church, when we come to worship our God, he is here among us. And that is a cause for rejoicing. That is a cause for joy. But what I want you to take away from joy is this. Joy follows that love. Joy is never about me. It's always about someone else. And so therefore, joy is always possible. And I know this has been a really difficult year. I know we've been struggling in 2020. Every family's been hit in some way. So joy's been tough. So if you're struggling to find joy, if you're struggling to rejoice, I want to offer seven practical tips that we can practice today. Start today practicing joy, finding joy in our heart, and watching that joy grow day by day. So 7 practical tips. Tip number 1, remove all killjoys. In particular, there are 3 killjoys: complaining, blaming, and selfishness. Complaining, blaming, and selfishness. Those are 3 sure ways to, 1, never have a solution, never resolve anything, and actually kill the joy in our heart and in the hearts of all those around us. We bring people down, bring ourselves down when we complain, when we blame, and when we are selfish. And so, brothers and sisters, if we can remove that from our hearts, if we can recognize that we are complaining, recognize, oh, I'm pointing that finger, and recognize, oh, it's all about me, that's impossible to have joy there. But if we can stop that, put ourselves last, and choose other people, we will find joy. So get rid of the killjoys. Point number 2, gratitude. It is not joy that makes us grateful. It is gratitude that makes us joyful. Say that one more time. It is not joy that makes us grateful. It is gratitude that makes us joyful. Brothers and sisters, even though this has been a very difficult year, even though all of us have our things that we're dealing with, whatever you're suffering with, whatever trial that you're facing at this time, God is real, he is our Father, and he has been blessing you. He has been blessing me. He has been blessing all of us this entire year. And if we don't take time to take a stock of that, if we don't take time to reflect and think about the ways that God has blessed us, we can miss it and the joy can go down. But on the contrary, if we do take that time and we do say, okay, I'm going to sit down right now and I'm going to think about all the things I have to be grateful for. I'm going to think about all the ways that God has blessed me. You will be astounded. Start naming them out loud. Say it out loud, and all of a sudden, I promise, this is a spiritual and a psychological exercise. Joy will start to arise in your heart, and we will realize it's not all dark. We will realize that it's not all bad. And we will realize that God has been present the whole time. Sometimes, one of the great things to do is make a gratitude list where we actually write down the things that we're grateful for. We write down all those things so that when we're having a tough time, when we're having a down day, we pull out that list and we start naming it. Start claiming it. God is blessing us even now. So gratitude makes us joyful. Tip number 3, sacrifice and service. Joy is not about me, right? It's about love. Joy is not about me. It's always about someone else. And so when we sacrifice, when we serve, when we do something nice for someone else, we find joy because that's who we're created to be. We find joy because, wow, I'm realizing this is who I'm made for. I'm not made for myself. I'm made for everyone else. And so do something, some act of service for someone in your life. Start with your spouse. Say something nice to them. Write them a card. Do something small but kind. Do it for your spouse. Do it for your children. So go out of your way to do something nice for your children. Be their parent. Be their loving parent and realize, wow, this is who I'm made to be. And for you children, just saying something nice to your siblings, saying something nice to your parents, going out of your way to say, no, I'm going to do something not about me, but about you. I promise you will find joy. So sacrifice and service. It's not about me, it's about you. And that will get us out of that funk, I promise. One of the best ways to get out of the depressing funk is to get out of ourselves and do something for someone else. Tip number 4. Be super generous. Super generous. We don't simply give from our surplus. We don't simply give from, okay, this is set aside to give. Give until it hurts. Why? Because when we give until it hurts, we start to realize, wait a second. Everything I have is a gift. Everything I have is a gift. I didn't deserve anything that I've had, and it's all meant to be shared. And in fact, when we give until it hurts, that pain does turn to joy because we realize, wow, I gave someone else something that I needed. I gave someone else something. I put myself aside for someone else, and I am joyful because that's who I'm created to be. I loved someone. I saw someone's need. I saw someone's hurt, and I said, you know what? I would like to have this extra, but they need it more than I do. Giving it to them, and the reward is joy because it's like, yeah, that's who we're made to be. So whatever it is for you, be super generous, and you will find joy come within. Tip number 5, leave some space, make some space for anticipation. The season of Advent is simple, it's quiet, it's dark, it's a space to anticipate the birth of Christ. It's a space to contemplate salvation. It's a space to recognize that we have a cause for rejoicing, to recognize Emmanuel, God is with us. However, what is Advent filled with? Craziness, busyness, noise, stores, commercialism, all of these things. Advent is under attack, and it's nothing less than satanic. It is the complete opposite of the season. And so if we allow ourselves to be taken in by the noise, if we allow ourselves to be taken in by the busyness, the numerous Christmas parties, all these things that are happening in Advent, not even waiting for Christmas, if we do that, brothers and sisters, we miss the joy of anticipation. We miss that excitement, that looking forward to the birth of Christ and the recognition that he is with us right now and we are yearning for him eternally. So what we need to do, and this is that tip number 5, is we need to be intentional about making space for anticipation, a space to reflect, a space to contemplate. Take your family away. Maybe cancel, we've been cancel culture all year. Cancel some of those busy events, okay? Cancel it. So we can take that space to be together as a family, to reflect on the mystery of Christmas, so that when Christmas comes, our heart is already overwhelmed with joy, and we're ready to receive our newborn King. The final 2 points are very spiritual in nature. So point number 6 is this. Become other-focused in prayer and worship. Remember, joy is not about me, and I'm not created for myself. And so in my prayer and in my worship, it's not about me. Become other-focused. And so what does that look like? When we come to Mass, oftentimes we hear, well, either I'm not going to Mass because I'm not getting anything out of it. We hear that, right? I'm just not getting anything out of Mass. That's not other-focused. That's about me. And Mass is not about me. It's, wow, I get to come here and worship my God. It's not about me. It's about my cause for joy, my God who is here. It's not about me, it's about him. So when we come to worship God, make it about God. And then when we are worshiping God here at Mass, we have joy because we realize this is who I was created to be. I was created by God, and he is here, and I can worship him. I am in his presence. What joy, not about me, but all about him. And in our prayer, yes, we need to present God with all of our struggles. He wants to hear. He wants to see. He knows them already, but he wants us to place all of our struggles at his feet. Yes. But if our prayer is consumed with my own worries, my own struggles, my own weakness, my own fears, my own trials, all of my stuff, we've missed something great. It's become selfish prayer. It's about me. Rather, what's better in our prayer is to say, you know what? I know I'm struggling, but I see this family over here, and I know they're having a hard time. I know this person, and wow, they're in a really rough spot. Wow, my family member has been quarantined since Corona started, and they've been I'm going to pray for them, right? Why don't we pray for other people, trusting that God is real, that God is our Father, and that God provides. He knows what we're dealing with, and He will take care of us. But we pray for other people, and then we find joy, because it's not about me, it's about them. And I actually forget about myself when I'm thinking about someone else, because I'm made for another person. I'm made for love. And in our prayer, when we love in that way, it becomes joyful. The final point comes to us from St. Paul. And this encompasses our whole life. He says, test everything. Test everything. And so as we move forward in these last 2 weeks of Advent, and even as we move forward in the course of our life, if we just allow ourselves to be carried away by the busyness, carried away by the events, carried away by everything that's calling to us, we will not have joy. We will have stress and anxiety, and we will not hear the Lord's voice. We'll even think that He's abandoned us. Instead, we test every call. We test every invitation. We test every extracurricular activity, and we say, Lord, is this what you want for me, for my family, for my children? Is this what we need to be who we're created to be in the image of love? Is this where we need to be here this Advent, to reflect, to contemplate, to anticipate the joy of Christmas? Is this what you're calling us to? Asking that question is very important, because we might find that there are a lot of things that we just don't need to be doing. There are a lot of things that are just adding to busyness, that are adding to noise, that aren't helpful for me, that aren't helpful for my children, that aren't helpful for anyone. And if we just take the time to ask the Lord, okay, where are you calling us? We will find joy, because we'll know, yeah, this is the direction we need to go. Yeah, these are the events that are going to help us to grow as a family, to grow in anticipation of the Christmas joy. Brothers and sisters, any one of these points, any one of these 7 practical tips, you can do it today. Every one of them can be applied today, and I promise, you do it today and you will find joy today. And what happens is, as we continue to practice joy, meaning practicing true love, practicing it's not about me, it's about other people, when we become more other-focused, more focused on selflessness, then we find more joy. And as we practice, that joy in our heart grows and grows and grows, and we become joyful people. People who can rejoice at all times, no matter what's going on around us, no matter what has been taken from us, no matter what we have or do not have, we can be joyful people. And the joy that we have is a joy that the world cannot give, and the joy that the world cannot take away. So brothers and sisters, rejoice. Rejoice, rejoice, and practice joy, and know that we can and will reach that kingdom of heaven. We can and will reach that destiny, that yearning for Jesus Christ, who will come to us this Christmas. God bless you.